Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the Mesa City Council study session for August the 30th. I will just note the obvious, which is that I'm wearing a mask. The reason for that is at the end of last week, I came in contact with some folks who ultimately tested positive for COVID-19. And so just in an abundance of caution, I'm wearing a mask today, but I am fully vaccinated, and I've been tested twice in the last 48 hours, negative both times. So I don't feel like I'm presenting a health risk, but nonetheless, I thought it was appropriate to wear a mask, and I appreciate my council members' patience with me and accommodations. I'll note for the record that all of our council is present at this meeting. First item on our agenda is to review and discuss items on the regular council meeting agenda that will follow this meeting. Council, I know we've had there's a lot on that consent agenda, some very substantive things, but I know we had a good meeting discussing it last Thursday. Is there any additional information that you'd like for any item on the consent agenda? Mr. Freeman, I know you do.
Why do I look that way?
Well, and because okay. I talked with you about it. So
okay.
I knew, yeah.
So 7G, is Jeff here, McVeigh? Jeff, can you talk about 7G? And I, you know, during the time we've met since the last time about the development agreement, the scope of the project, and our agreements with the Chapman parcel, I guess, we're under lease for X amount of years, and there was a development agreement, I think you mentioned, sort of on the shelf at one point. Where's that at? So we could start there. Thanks.
Mayor, Councilmember Freeman. We had negotiated essentially all the way to the end a development agreement for the entire 20 acres that would make up Sycamore Station, including the portion that includes the park and ride. Once the park and ride no longer was available from a development perspective, where the underlying family was not willing to sell the property, we halted the negotiations on that development agreement specifically for that entire 20 acres. So that is sitting on the shelf. There are components of that we will need to bring forward at the time when the park and ride does have a development opportunity. And I can, you know, it's a little off your question, but I have fielded a phone call and an email today, one from the Chapman family and one from the interested developer. They have made connection with each other in the past week, so I think there is some potential opportunity that they're exploring together. So that development agreement could come back sooner than later. But at the same time, we are nearly fully complete negotiating a development agreement specifically for the apartment development that would be on the Dobson portion of the Sycamore Station site. And we anticipate right now to have that complete and ready for council's consideration towards the end of September.
So one of my follow-up questions, I hope Councilmember Heredia, you let me get this out in my mind, but on the Dobson side, that's an apartment complex, correct? And
correct.
What's the scope of that project itself?
It's a 5-story building. I believe it's 5 stories. Pretty confident it's 5-story building. About 250 residential units, ranging from 1 bedroom up to, I think it's studios, 1s and 2 bedrooms. Pretty significant amenity package, and you know, from our initial review of their proposal, what they've submitted to us from an architectural perspective, it's a very nicely designed, very high quality project.
So Nana, would you agree to that? The scope and quality of the project? I mean, you're going to be the zoning administrator at the point.
Mayor, Council, it is a high quality project, but it's still going through the review. We have not approved it, so we will continue to review to make sure it meets all the standards, and it's something that we can be very proud of. So it's still going through the review.
And then, Jeff, the commercial component up on Main Street, parallel with Sycamore there, how's that going to play out?
So if approved today, the rezoning includes that condition of approval now that requires the first floor of the Main Street frontage to be built to and include retail or commercial activity by ordinance now. So they will have to build to a minimum, by our code, it's a minimum 14-foot floor to ceiling height, which is the minimum commercial standard now, as well as they will have to have commercial uses. And I think the way it's written, it gives NANA some discretion to determine which are appropriate active retail, active commercial uses.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but at one point downtown, we changed some of the residential and commercial square footage component. Does that affect this out here as well, or is it has nothing to play with it?
Councilmember Freeman, that code amendment we made was in the context of the development that Opus is doing at the Brown and Brown site. We wrote that text amendment in such a way that it only could apply to those very large sites that were going to have a very significant commercial component requirement that would make it so it'd be difficult to fill the space. So in order to be eligible for that, you'd have to have a minimum of 5 acres to start with, and then on top of that, it had to be a 100,000 square foot building in which, so neither of those attributes exist at this portion of the Sycamore project where that would even be an eligible condition.
Okay. Mayor, is it okay if Lindsay Shuby say something during this? Lindsay, do you want to add any comments to staff? Thank you. Because I did.
Ms. Shuby is the attorney that represents the applicant, the developer.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Mayor, Councilman, I still feel like I should call you Vice Mayor Freeman. Once you've held the title right, you should. I know it's Vice Mayor Duff still. Mayor, Council, thank you very much for your record, Lindsay Shuby. Dave Richens is the only, Councilman Richens was the only one that used to call me up here during study session on a regular basis.
Well, now there's a second one, right?
Now there's a second one, so Councilman Freeman, happy to answer any questions, and thank you. You still have gentlemen here who gave up their seat.
So I have a question on, again, the market rate price point for the units themselves, because I know some of the, at least one neighborhood has reached out to me and said, you know, we're concerned about having this price point versus that one. So when you say market rate, that's kind of a broad range.
Yeah,
I mean, do you
Mayor,
have an
Councilman
answer?
Freeman, that is a tough question. Unfortunately, I can't give you a dollar price because it's about 2 years before we bring these to market. And I think so much has happened in the market that we don't want to commit to a price point. I can tell you that there's no HUD financing. While there is necessity in the market for all sorts of affordable units, affordable housing, whether it's ownership or rental, this project per se is a high-end market rate project. That's the design, that's the target. With the development agreement that you guys will see with the GIPLET that we're asking for in the Dobson Street piece, you're getting a lot of high-end amenities so that the design is all a high-end project. But I can't give you a dollar value because in 2 years from now, I don't know what the market's gonna look like.
I think that's fair. I guess the other comment is listening to Councilmember Heredia and the Asian district there that we have growing, that there's a need for housing or, you know, people to work and live, obviously, in this specific area. So I see a lot of benefit in it. So I don't have any more questions, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Before we excuse anyone, Mr. Heredia.
Maybe Lindsay, a quick ask on, you know, folks that are around the area, the support of, have you done any outreach, seeing support for this type of development happening here? If so, I know a couple of the supermarkets like Mekong and H Mart and nonprofit community, rail nonprofit there. And so anyone else, any outreach that we've had done as far as the support in this property for that development?
Yeah, Mayor, Councilman Heredia, that's a great question. Thank you. We have spent a lot of time speaking with a group that does have concerns and is very worried about the west side. So we've got one group that has some concerns. But I will tell you, we've had a ton of outreach from Mekong Plaza, H Mart. We have, I believe, there's 11 letters of support in the packet, give or take 9, 10, 11. No, that should be my answer, not yours. I apologize for looking at you. In and around there. But I will tell you, we've had more phone calls in support of this project. The immediate vicinity, as well as rail and other groups. We also have letters of support from downtown Mesa. The folks in downtown Mesa that are really looking forward to more patronage along the light rail are very excited about getting an additional 400 units along the light rail so that they have additional patrons for downtown Phoenix. And Mayor, if I may, in one of the study sessions you asked, in terms of the project coming back to you. And I want to say in the best way, you have a very good steward of the community here with Nana, and him having to sign off, frankly, is a very, very high bar. So I don't think you have any concerns in terms of us bringing our project back. Nana does a very nice job, as you guys know, checking all the standards and the quality. We have very high quality level of design that was approved in 2016, and those high quality design standards have not changed. It's just development standards that are here.
And
So-
Mayor and Council, reminder, we mentioned that this development is requesting an incentive from the city that this council has to approve. So that allows us to leverage to request amenities and other things you wouldn't otherwise, maybe, might not see in any development. So we do have the leverage. The council does not have to approve a GIBLET. You're not under an obligation to do that until we approve the development agreement. So we can use that as a way to, they're getting a tax incentive. We can also use that to improve the amenities in a multifamily is what drives the cost up, right? Because of the swimming pool, the activity areas, the fitness centers, the gathering places, those are the things we'll look for, as well as the facade and the actual other amenities on the architectural amenities.
Thank you. Oh, well, Lindsay, hopefully you have a good birthday.
Thank you very much,
Congratulations.
Mayor. It is my birthday. I'm
Okay.
happy to share it with all of you here in Mesa.
That's always in a lawyer's bag of tricks. If you think you're in trouble, you just say, did I tell you it was my birthday? I've got, I think I've also raised some questions about this project, so I feel like I owe it to the applicant and to the neighborhood to kind of tell you where I'm at on this as well. I do intend to support leaving this on the consent agenda for approval. This is a mixed-use, transit-oriented development. It is not just two apartment complexes. This is a bigger plan. And it is unfortunate that not all of it is developing at the same time, but the remaining property still remains under lease with the city of Mesa for the next 41 years. So nothing is going to happen on the undeveloped portion of this piece without the city exerting a tremendous amount of influence and dictating how that's going to come about. So I think it was the vice mayor the last time we brought this up that said what we don't want is another Site 17, sitting for many years undeveloped. And I agree that is my concern as well. And today at lunchtime I drove by the Grace property, and I was just my heart was warmed, to see that piece of property that sat for decades behind a chain link fence and as an eyesore and as a monument to inaction in our community. So for those reasons, I am supportive of moving forward. And I had a conversation over the weekend with a member of one of the community groups that has concerns about this project. And the message that came from them is that we don't need to settle in West Mesa anymore for development. If you look at the success of the development that's going in right now along the light rail corridor, the Groves apartment complex is 100% leased, very high-end amenity property, and lots of, lots of great comps to point to right now along the light rail route. So right now, the two projects that are going to come out of the ground, the project on Dobson has been indicated, because we are participating in a GIBLET, we can raise the bar, and I think staff is very confident that this is going to be a noticeably way above market type amenitized project. It's going to be very, very nice. The question is whether there's still unresolved issues with regard to the property on Main Street, but the fact that we've mandated retail on the main floor, and that NANA continue, because this is a smart growth community plan, NANA really is in a position to dictate the quality of this project. So for those reasons, I can in good conscience tell the neighbors that these are going to be two noticeably very nice apartment complexes, and they're going to be a great couple of dominoes to fall, and I'm optimistic that we're going to see the rest of this project develop sooner than later in a very good way. So I appreciate that we've been talking about this project for several years. Yeah, so it's fun to see it come together, and I am I feel good about it. So thank you for staff and for the developer and everyone who's had patience with us as we've worked on this, and I think it's arrived at a good place. So yes, Mr. Freeman.
I was just going to ask, maybe, I'd like this to come off the consent agenda, and in case the neighborhood would like to make a comment.
Okay.
So I think that'll be fine.
All right. 7G is off the consent agenda. Thank you very much.
You signed up to make comments, it comes off automatically. So if we don't have comments, does it go back on consent?
I might make some comments.
Okay.
Okay.
I just want to make sure that.
So regardless of whether people show up, you'd like the opportunity to comment on it. Is that right? Okay. All right. 7G is off the consent. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Council, other questions regarding today's consent agenda? As I indicated earlier, we had a great study session. There's two other very noteworthy items on our consent agenda. Well, more than two, but I just want to remind everyone, item 5D has to do with the rental assistance program, the additional $5.5 million we're getting from the county. I just want to again pat our staff on the back. The reason we're getting that money is because we've been so good at getting that money out the door. So far we've done over $24 million in rental assistance, utility assistance, mortgage assistance. And because we're doing so well, that's why we're getting this additional money. And there's more on the way too. Another round of federal funding is coming. So I hope the message that people take from this is, yes, the eviction moratorium has ended. But the opportunity for rental assistance and utility assistance and mortgage assistance has not ended. So if you or someone you know is at risk of eviction or having your utilities turned off, please go to the mesaaz.gov website, and one of the first icons you'll see on there is click for rental assistance. So we're anxious to continue to provide that safety net to the folks in our community. The other item on the consent agenda that we can't just let happen without a comment is item 6A, the massage establishment ordinance. I again just want to express my appreciation. I see Kathleen Wynn in the audience. I know Councilmember Thompson and others. This has been a passion for years to work on this. The thing I hope comes out of this is a message that people understand that we are broadening the ordinance, but we're also broadening the liability of people who are responsible for what happens in these establishments. So the owners, the operators, the landlords are at serious risk if they turn a blind eye to the activities that are going on in these establishments. So I think that is a significant improvement in the ordinance, and hopefully the word will get out, and we'll see some real change with regard to that problem in our community. Okay, Council, anything else on the consent agenda you'd like to address? Hearing none, the next item on our agenda is item 2, that's current event summary, including meetings and conferences attended. I've seen you being very busy the last few days. Who would like to start? Councilmember Spilsbury.
We've all attended lots of events this last week. Today, the mayor, vice mayor, and Councilmember Freeman and I were able to attend the United Food Bank to congratulate and thank Boeing for their $10,000 donation to our hydration campaign, which put us over our goal. So that's really exciting to be able to do that. But if you're still at a grocery store, grab a case of water. We know we still need it. So drop it off at a local fire station. And the other thing I wanted to mention was we had our very last redistricting meeting on Saturday in my district. And so those are the end of the in-person districting meetings. But feel free, please, if you have an interest and want to have a say in what your district looks like, to get on the website, mesaaz.org, and search for redistricting. And there's an online tool that you can use to map out the district how you would like it. So encourage you to do that.
Thank you, Ms. Pillsbury. Who'd like to go next? Mr. Luna, and then Mr. Freeman.
Today, Vice Mayor Duff and I had the opportunity to visit Atlas Motor in Northeast Mesa, and they are making an electric truck. And this is an idea from a gentleman, decided to build it from his backyard. And it just got so big that now they're located in Northeast Mesa and expanding. And they have 34 employees, are continuing to look for new employees. And they want to partner with Red Mountain Community College as well as Mesa Community College for some interns. And it's just a great project. So they're focusing on building electric cars as well as batteries for electric cars, as well as these superchargers that will charge the electric cars. So, and as well as charge your house. So it's really pretty cool. So it's in Northeast Mesa. That's it, man.
That's great. Someone reminded me recently that during the Texas freeze that occurred a few months ago, there were plenty of examples of folks that had the new F-150 Ford electric truck, and they were powering their house off of the batteries in their electric vehicle. So anyway, it's just it's an exciting change of technology, isn't it? Okay, Mr. Freeman.
Thank you, Mayor. Yourself, Vice Mayor, Councilmember Spilsbury, and myself, we attended the Mesa Historical Museum. They had an exhibit on diversity, and we'd encourage all of you to go down there. It's a really awesome exhibit, and I think you'll find it fascinating, as well as the other museum artifacts and rooms that they have. So if anybody's listening, they need donors for the museum. There's a lot of work to be done there, and we appreciate all their work. I mean, their board did a fantastic job, as well as their executive director, Susan. So thank you.
Thank you. Council, anything else you'd like to share with us? All right, Mr. Brady, what does our schedule look like for future meetings?
Mayor and Council, we will be canceling this Thursday study session. We know it conflicts with the league conference, so we'll not be holding that meeting this Thursday. So our next council meetings will be a study session on Thursday, September 9th, and the study session will then be followed by an Audit and Finance Committee meeting. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Our last item is to convene an executive session regarding the Wright lawsuit. Is there a motion to convene an executive session? Thank you, Ms. Pillsbury, seconded by Mr. Freeman. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Thank you. The motion passes unanimously.